Hey, what is up guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. Before we start today's video, I just want to remind you guys that tonight will be the peak of the Orionid meteor shower, which is the comet debris from Halley's Comet. And it's going to be visible tonight, so if you happen to have a clear sky, which unfortunately I do not, it's completely rainy and cloudy out, but if you do, you might catch some beautiful meteors streaking by. So, we have a lot of things to talk about today. We're going to focus today's video more on some of these very mysterious documents that have been leaked recently. One of them coming from the recent Podesta Hillary Clinton email leak, compliments of WikiLeaks, as well as a new document also purported to have come from Hillary Clinton's campaign that was just leaked by Anonymous that goes into detail about an alleged fake alien invasion. And as a matter of fact, we'll just go ahead and start with that first, because that's probably the most interesting. I've been getting tons of emails about it, so the gist of the story is that Anonymous have just released a new PDF document. You're seeing that document here, and I will put the link to it down in the video description. If for some reason the link doesn't work, I have downloaded it and I will re-upload it. So the Anonymous group released a video talking about this document that supposedly exposes a plan for the DNC to stage a fake alien invasion on November 8th, otherwise known as Election Day. The document, which shows here to be coming from something called the Benison Strategy Group, and then we have the Clinton Foundation logo here. But basically what the PDF is a list of statistics and voting stats that breaks down the type of people who are leaning more towards Trump, and the document shows that over 73% of independents who have been exposed to alternative media, which would be something like our channel here, or WikiLeaks, that a large majority of moderates, over 70%, are aware of the WikiLeaks email dump. And it also shows that people who are exposed to alternative media actually are leaning away from Hillary and are either not going to vote or are voting Trump. The report also breaks down these polls where it shows that both women and African Americans, which came to only around maybe 8%, have ever watched or listened to alternative media. And so many of the woman and African American populations are in the dark about the email dump and some of the more dark things that Hillary has had her hand in. Now, the document, as you read further, goes on to break down the ways in which the DNC would be able to prevent these specific voters from voting on November 8th. Here you're seeing a screenshot of that where we have a storm would potentially cause only 2% of people to not go out and vote, a powerful storm, Zika or other epidemiological agent, threat of violence at polling places, long lines, and so on. And as you read further, things start to get a little bit more scary, and we start seeing them talk about possibilities that could prevent people from voting, such as you're seeing here, and they even have their own little code names like Red Dawn, Cobalt Rain, BL Riot, where they talk about staging civil unrest that could prevent pockets of America from voting. They go on to talk about HARP, which is the well-known weather manipulation, a system that was supposedly shut down recently, but we know is back up and running. And then they go on to something called fire sign, and that is what we want to talk about today. And I'm going to read to you what it says here. It says, and I quote, "For almost 2 decades, the Department of Defense and NASA have coordinated on a black book project under the codename Fire Sign. Fire Sign's aim is to create a religious awe effect in enemy populations to create an instantaneous psychological soft kill. The operation uses high-powered lasers to project real-seeming images on the sodium layer 100 kilometers above the surface. These images can cover hundreds or even thousands of square miles and can appear completely real, three-dimensional, and can move." These visual cues are augmented with pulsed ELF electromagnetic emissions that attack the specific areas of the prefrontal cortex that are stimulated during religious experience. So then we go down here, and we see this little diagram of this laser Project Bluebeam style apparatus here projecting a flying saucer in the sky. It goes on to state that the fire sign scenario is that of an invading extraterrestrial force of nearly incomprehensible scale. And in a nutshell, basically what this document is saying is that this technology does exist and that it would be used in the areas where voters are likely to lean towards Trump. They would simulate a fake alien invasion. The President of the United States, President Obama, would be able to, quote, call a halt to the invasion, save the day, and then hand over the torch to Clinton, providing the basic continuity of state. So, it's a lot to take in. It's very frightening if legitimate. And, I mean, at this point, we don't know whether it's real or not. We know that Anonymous has, very much like WikiLeaks, hacked into and released legitimate files in the past. They do have a track record of releasing legitimate documents that they have found that have been covered up. And so, we really have to use our common sense, and I mean, when you have a document like this, you really can't say whether it's real or not until you get some more information to corroborate it. We already do have some information that would seem to corroborate the possibility of a faked hologram alien invasion. I know many of you guys have talked about this in the comments section, and many of you believe that a lot of the UFO sightings we publish on this channel are in fact not real, but are holograms. There is something known as Project Bluebeam, which specifically relates to the using of holograms to create these faked images, whether it's the second coming of Christ or an alien invasion. The allegations of Project Bluebeam were first presented in 1994 by a Canadian journalist by the name of Serge Monast, who actually even talked about it when he published a book entitled Project Bluebeam. Now, what many people don't know is that Mr. Monast, as well as another unnamed journalist, both died of heart attacks in 1996, with many believing that they were assassinated. And that furthermore, there were reports of the Canadian government having kidnapped Monast's daughter in an effort to dissuade him from investigating Project Bluebeam further. We've had various researchers and government witnesses talk about the use of these holograms as a way to prevent elections or initiate martial law, take over the world, take over the country. And at this point, I mean, you know, you guys can check out the document for yourselves. If real, it's very scary. Some have said that the document is just too crazy to be believed. But I ask you, is the craziness of an allegation reason enough to be used as evidence that it's untrue? So I will leave it up to you guys. Download the document for yourself and let me know what you guys think. Now, while we're on the subject, we did a video the other day about the recently leaked WikiLeaks Podesta emails, where some of these emails addressed to Mr. Podesta, who is the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, were talking about the validity of the alien phenomenon, how it is a real thing. Many of these emails came from Edgar Mitchell, who was an Apollo astronaut and the sixth man to walk on the moon. Well, we have another email that we will also link to down in the video description, which indicates that these were not just simply emails to Podesta that went unanswered. In both of the emails that we've spoken about, including the other email from our recent video, we learned that there was a Skype conversation set up, and just from reading the emails, you can tell that this was definitely an ongoing conversation. And here in this new email, which I will read to you, it says, "Dear Mr. Podesta, as we move into the last half of 2014, the need for extraterrestrial disclosure intensifies. Thank you for your kind consideration and response to my email." So he definitely got a response, and we know that he set up Skype conversations. And he goes on in this email to reveal that the United States government has known and decided way back to keep it from the public. He goes on to say, quote, 50 years ago, Brattell, Brookings, and Rand studies on the UFOs convinced the government to remove knowledge of the extraterrestrial presence from the citizens of our country. Now, if you guys don't know, the Brookings report, which was submitted to Congress on April 18, 1961, dealt with issues related to space exploration, but was best known for its brief section dealing with the discovery of alien life forms and how leaders would react should it occur. Now, Mr. Mitchell also mentions the Rand Corporation, which was founded with the objective of looking into future weaponry. However, many people believe that the actual objective was to study extraterrestrial salvage from the infamous 1942 Battle of Los Angeles. You're seeing an image here, and if you guys don't know, if you're new to the channel, this is one of the most infamous, amazing, well-documented UFO cases in United States history, and it's one of the few times where we had an unidentified craft that was being tracked by the military via these massive spotlights. It was fired upon by the military, wherein which not a single shell was able to hit or disable the aircraft. Now, originally, when they spotted this UFO above Los Angeles, they thought that it was an enemy attack, and so they started a barrage of anti-aircraft artillery. You can see here that we have a saucer-shaped craft, and according to countless people who were there that night, the object moved slowly through the sky as the military shot thousands of anti-aircraft shells at this thing. Not one thing took this thing down before the object finally disappeared, and it's just one of the craziest cases. So that brings us back to the Rand Corporation, which many people believe was actually used to study this infamous UFO case. So as you further go through this email, Mr. Mitchell suggests that the public should be more well-informed, obviously, of this phenomenon, and that it would help us prepare better for our next step of space travel and research. Now, Podesta's secretary responded to Mitchell's email saying that he would rather meet with him alone before involving Obama. Mr. Mitchell, as well as Rebecca Hardcastle Wright, who is the founder of the Institute of Exoconsciousness, were able to set up a Skype meeting that occurred at some point during the week of August 11th, 2014. Mr. Mitchell passed away just this year. So I definitely think that we are learning things from these email leaks. At the very least, what we do know is that we're not crazy. The government does know about the UFO phenomenon. It has studied the phenomenon and is trying to cover it up. So, before we end today's video, we have some interesting things happening around the planet Mars. The first of which is the confirmed loss of the European Space Agency's Mars lander that had just begun its descent to the surface of Mars. And if you guys remember, we talked about this in our recent video, how the agency had sent this lander that was going to test for traces of previous alien life on the planet. And apparently, it was almost to the surface of Mars, doing its descent. As a matter of fact, just 1 minute before it was to touch down, Europe lost contact with the lander. Now, the second spacecraft, which is still orbiting Mars, is still fine. It's just humming along. But this is obviously very bad news, and it, brings up questions. It reminds us of other landers and probes that were mysteriously lost, or that went missing, or that were knocked out. We've talked about the Russian Phobos incident. And we've had plenty of other probes and landers that have gone missing or gone dark. With no idea what happened to them. And this is already sparking conspiracy theories that it could have possibly been knocked out by something on Mars. Seeing as the probe was sent there to look for alien life, there could have been something there that knocked it out. Another theory is that NASA is behind it, and that we somehow knocked it out due to the fact that the Europeans were willing to release information had they found it that would have provided evidence of alien life, and NASA didn't want that to happen. And so they somehow messed with the signal or caused the Europeans to lose their connection. We don't know if the object has been knocked out or if it's landed. All we know that the signal has been lost. It's missing. So this is just breaking news, so we're going to follow it as we go. I'll let you guys decide one way or another. Let me know what you guys think about these new leaked emails. It's crazy stuff, a lot to take in. Head over and read them yourselves. Now, one more thing. I am going to be holding the drawing for the new microphone. I'd say I'm going to wait maybe another day or two because emails are still coming in for people who want to enter the drawing. So here in a few days, I will officially take all of the emails I've gotten and I will do a drawing. And we'll find out who the lucky winner is of the microphone. So if you want a chance at the mic, be sure to send an email to secureteammike@gmail.com and you could be the lucky winner. I've actually just finished boxing up the microphone, and next I'm going to be boxing up the mic stand that'll be coming with it. So again, if you need a mic, enter the drawing and we'll have some fun here in a couple days. So thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you back very soon with much more. Stay safe, guys.